Before the world wakes up, when the night is still holding its breath, there's a moment where everything feels thin, like heaven is closer than usual. And maybe that's why so many people talk about 3 a.m. as a spiritual crossroads, a moment where fear whispers, where anxiety presses in, where the unseen feels louder than the seen. But what if that hour isn't meant to terrify you, but to transform you? This long-form message is built from that idea, that a single prayer, sincerely spoken, can shift the atmosphere of your life, not because of magic, not because of superstition, but because of the presence of a God who listens in every hour, but who often speaks the loudest when the world is quiet. So I want you to imagine this scene with me. It's 3 a.m., your eyes open, not because of a noise, not because of a nightmare. You just wake up, and before the worry comes, before you reach for your phone, before old habits flood your mind, something in you feels invited, drawn, like there's a nudge you can't quite explain. This is where the prayer begins, not with pressure, not with performance, but with presence. The ancient writers described God as a refuge, a fortress, a hiding place in the night, and they also described an enemy who prowls, who lies, who attacks in the shadows. But the same scripture promises something else, that when you call upon the Lord, darkness trembles. Not because you're strong, but because He is. This is why people pray at 3 a.m., not because the hour is magic, but because it's surrendered. It's the hour when distractions fall away and your spirit becomes still enough to hear the whisper of God saying, "I'm here." So imagine yourself sitting up in bed. The room is dim, the air feels different, and all the things you carry, fear for your children, anxiety about finances, the weight of family cycles you don't want to repeat, suddenly feel heavy enough to hand over. This prayer is not a formula, it's not a ritual, it's a doorway, a way of saying, God, I need you to protect what I can't. I need you to fight what I don't see. I need you to stand where I feel weak. Because the truth is, so much of our battle happens in the unseen. We wrestle with discouragement, temptation, intrusive thoughts, generational patterns we never asked for. We wrestle with the shadows of our past and the uncertainties of our future. And while we may try to manage those things through strength or strategy, there comes a moment, maybe at 3 a.m., when you realize human strength is not enough, but divine protection is. As you pray, imagine every word building something around you, not a wall of fear, but a hedge of safety, a spiritual covering that stretches over your home, your relationships, your health, your purpose. You're not begging God, you're agreeing with His promise. You're aligning yourself with a victory already won, and something begins to shift. Your breathing slows, your mind settles. The atmosphere in the room feels different, not because the circumstances changed instantly, but because you entered into a different kind of strength. You start to confess the places you've been burdened. You start to open up the wounds you've been hiding. You start to release the guilt that's been poisoning your peace. Every word is a step out of fear and into freedom. You pray over your mind, those anxieties that chase you even in your sleep. You pray over your body, every sickness, every ache, every diagnosis that has tried to claim power over you. You pray over your finances, the lack, the debt, the worry about tomorrow. You pray over your relationships, the strained ones, the toxic ones, the fragile ones hanging by threads. And as you do, it's like you feel a weight leaving your chest you didn't even know you were carrying. This is the power of surrender. This is the power of spiritual honesty. This is the power of speaking truth into the darkness until the darkness starts losing its grip. Because you're not praying alone. Heaven listens. Heaven responds. Heaven steps into the room. You begin to feel a holy boldness rising. Not arrogance, not pride, but confidence. Confidence that the God who split seas, shut lions' mouths, and broke chains in prisons is the same God standing guard over your life right now. And that's when the prayer begins to deepen. You start renouncing things that have hovered over your family for generations. Fear, addiction, anger, cycles of poverty, patterns of broken relationships. You're not fighting these things with willpower anymore. You're fighting them with spiritual authority. You declare that what held your parents will not hold you. You declare that what destroyed others will not destroy your purpose. You declare that what has stalked your peace will flee in the presence of God. You begin to speak freedom. You begin to speak healing. You begin to speak wholeness, not because you feel powerful, but because you are finally connected to the one who is. And by the time the prayer reaches its midpoint, something in your spirit feels awake, alive, strong. Like you're not just praying for protection, you're praying for transformation, for renewal, for restoration. This is the kind of prayer that marks you, the kind that doesn't end when the sun rises, the kind that changes how you walk into your day, the kind that reminds you that you're never unguarded, never unseen, never unprotected. And as the first part of this long-form message draws to a close, I want you to hold on to this truth. You don't pray at 3 a.m. to survive the darkness. You pray at 3 a.m. to declare that the darkness will not survive you. Something happens when you start to pray like that, when you stop whispering timid hopes and begin declaring spiritual truth. It's like the atmosphere inside you starts to rearrange itself. The fear that once controlled your breath loosens its grip. The heaviness that sat on your chest begins to lift. And for the first time in a long time, you realize you're not fighting for victory, you're fighting from it. So imagine we're still in that moment, 3 a.m., the room quiet, your spirit awake. The kind of awake that doesn't come from fear or anxiety, but from divine presence. The kind of awake that makes you feel like you're standing on holy ground, even if you're just sitting on the edge of your bed. You continue to pray, not rushed, not pressured, but steady. And each word begins to feel like a key unlocking something that's been stuck inside you for years. You pray over your mind again because the truth is, so many battles begin there. Thoughts that spiral, lies that repeat, wounds that echo. And you can almost feel God stepping into those mental spaces, cleaning out old clutter, calming storms, pulling out roots of worry you didn't even realize had grown so deep. You begin speaking peace over your emotions, the kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, the kind of peace that stands firm even when the enemy whispers his old lies, the kind of peace that lets you breathe again, slow, steady, unafraid. You pray over your body, and it doesn't feel like wishful thinking. It feels like alignment, like your words are matching what heaven has already declared, that you are not abandoned in sickness, not forgotten in pain, not alone in your healing. There is something sacred about inviting God into the very cells and bones that feel frail, something intimate, something powerful, and then you shift the prayer to your home. You speak protection over the walls, the doors, the windows. Not out of superstition, but out of awareness, because spiritual peace is not random. It's built. Every prayer is like placing another brick in that invisible hedge around your life. You picture light filling every room, every hallway, every hidden corner. Light that drives out fear. Light that exposes lies. Light that announces, this house belongs to God. You pray over the people you love, the ones under your roof and the ones scattered across different places. You lift their names one by one, their fears, their struggles, their pain, and something powerful happens when you do this. You stop carrying the responsibility of saving them. You place them in God's hands where they always belonged. Maybe you have a child wrestling with choices you can't control. Maybe you have a spouse fighting battles you can't fix. Maybe you have family members caught in cycles you've begged God to break. At 3 a.m., those burdens feel heavier, but in prayer, those same burdens get lighter, not because they disappear instantly, but because you're not holding them alone. You begin to pray against generational patterns, the ones that ran through your family like an old riverbed: anger, addiction, poverty, illness, broken marriages, cycles that repeated themselves without permission. But tonight, you're standing in the gap. You're saying, this ends with me. And heaven honors that kind of authority. You speak life over your future. You speak clarity over your decisions. You speak courage into places where fear once lived unchecked. Because spiritual protection is not just about shielding you from harm, it's about guiding you into purpose. God isn't just keeping you safe, He's leading you forward. And that's why your prayer begins to shift again, becoming less about defense and more about destiny. You ask for wisdom, not just for big decisions, but for the quiet, daily ones that shape your life. You ask for discernment, to recognize distractions, to spot spiritual traps, to avoid detours disguised as opportunities. You ask for strength, the kind that doesn't crumble under pressure, the kind that grows in the middle of trials instead of weakening. And as you pray for these things, you can almost feel God placing spiritual armor on you piece by piece. Truth around your waist, righteousness over your heart, peace on your feet, faith in your hands, salvation over your mind, the word like a sword in your grip. Not as poetry, but as protection, as reality. The room feels different now, but more importantly, you feel different. Your shoulders relax, your breath deepens. Something inside you that was trembling is now steady, not because all your problems evaporated, but because you remembered who walks with you into each one. You pray over your purpose, the one you've doubted, the one you've delayed, the one life has tried to bury under fear or discouragement. You say, God, don't let me miss what you created me for. And something rises inside you, boldness, hope, clarity. You realize that protection is not just for survival, it's for calling. God doesn't guard what he doesn't intend to use, and you begin to feel a conviction growing. There is more for your life, more impact, more purpose, more spiritual weight, and now your prayer reaches deeper still. You ask God to search your heart, to pull up anything hidden, anything toxic, anything quietly poisoning your peace. And this part isn't dramatic, it's tender, vulnerable, holy. You confess things you've tucked away out of shame or fear. You bring them into the light, and instead of judgment, you feel mercy. You feel forgiveness. You feel cleansing. This is the moment where chains break, not because of shouting, not because of intensity, but because of honesty, because God never heals what we pretend isn't wounded. The night is still quiet, but you're no longer heavy. You're no longer anxious. You're no longer bracing yourself for the worst. You're resting fully, deeply, securely in the one who watches over you. And as part 2 closes, I want you to hold on to this truth. The power of a 3 a.m. prayer is not in the hour. It's in the surrender. It's in the honesty. It's in the presence of a God who moves when you least expect it. The night begins to soften now. Maybe a hint of morning rests on the horizon. Maybe the air shifts just enough to remind you that darkness never owns the final word. But before the light comes, there is still more to receive, because prayers like this don't end with relief. They end with transformation. You continue to pray, not out of fear anymore, but out of alignment, out of trust, out of the deep awareness that you've stepped into a spiritual rhythm most people never enter because they move too fast to notice the invitation. This is where the prayer turns into something bigger than protection. It becomes identity, it becomes inheritance, it becomes awakening. Because protection isn't just about keeping the enemy out, it's about awakening what God placed within you. And somewhere between your first fearful whisper and this steady, confident prayer, you have become different. Not hardened, not fearful, not desperate, but grounded, rooted, aware. You speak again over your mind, and the words feel stronger now, not like requests, but like declarations. I have the mind of Christ. I am guarded by peace. My thoughts bow to truth. And as you speak, it's like the atmosphere inside your head. The racing, the buzzing, the overwhelm begins to quiet under the weight of spiritual truth. You feel the fog lifting. You feel your focus sharpening. You feel clarity, real clarity, settling in. You move to your body once more, not out of fear of sickness, but out of partnership with the God who heals. You speak life into your cells, strength into your bones, rest into your nervous system, peace into the tension you carry under your skin. You're not begging for healing. You're agreeing with it. You're welcoming it. You're inviting God's presence into the very places that feel frail. Your prayer flows into your finances, not from anxiety, but from surrender. You begin to see provision not as luck, not as coincidence, but as the natural result of God's faithfulness. You ask for wisdom to steward what you have. You ask for the doors He wants to open and the ones He wants to close. You ask for discipline where you've been careless and for opportunity where you need breakthrough. It's not greed, it's not striving, it's partnership with the one who provides. Then you pray over your relationships again, but this time it's different. You're not pleading for them to change. You're not carrying the emotional weight that never belonged on your shoulders. You're releasing, you're trusting, you're blessing. You ask God to protect your heart from manipulation, to shield you from toxic influence, to remove connections that drain your spirit, and to bring people into your life who sharpen your faith, speak truth in love, and walk with you toward purpose. You feel your spirit soften as you forgive people who hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because forgiveness unties you from the pain they caused. You feel the freedom that comes from blessing those who misused your kindness, because your peace matters more than their apology. Your prayer shifts again, settling onto your purpose, your calling, the thing God placed inside you before you ever took a breath. And maybe for years you've doubted it. Maybe you felt unworthy. Maybe the storms of life convinced you that your calling was postponed or canceled. But here, in this quiet hour, God stirs it again. You begin to pray bold prayers. Open the doors you want open. Close the ones that will distract me. Give me courage to walk into assignments bigger than my fear. You feel it, the quiet conviction that God is not protecting you just so you can survive. He's protecting you so you can build, so you can grow, so you can rise, so you can impact lives you haven't even met yet. Your prayer continues into spiritual warfare, not dramatic, not frantic, but steady and fearless. You sense the weight of God's authority in your words. You speak against the enemy's schemes. You speak against lies that have tried to shape your identity. You speak against fear that has tried to control your choices. You speak against discouragement that has tried to bury your purpose. And as you speak, you realize something sacred. You are not afraid of the enemy anymore, because you finally understand he is afraid of who you become when you pray like this. This is where the prayer becomes declaration. You declare that your home is covered. You declare that your spirit is strengthened. You declare that peace guards every corner of your mind. You declare that the blood of Jesus silences every accusation. You declare that no weapon formed against you will prosper. You declare that what the enemy meant for evil, God will turn for good. You pray over your future, and instead of dread, you feel anticipation, like God is pulling you forward, like he's preparing something you can't see yet, like you're stepping into a season of clarity, favor, protection, and divine assignment. And then, as the night slowly yields to dawn, your prayer reaches its final moment, the place where everything settles into stillness. You sit quietly, you breathe deeply, and for the first time in a long time, you feel safe. Not because life is perfect, not because the road ahead is predictable, but because you are held, guarded, covered, loved. You whisper one last prayer, not rushed, not heavy, but full of trust. God, protect not just my night, but my day, not just my home, but my heart, not just my present, but my purpose. Walk before me, stand behind me, stay beside me. I surrender it all to you. And as you lie back down, whether you fall asleep again or walk into the morning, you carry something new with you. A peace that doesn't make sense, a strength you didn't manufacture, a confidence born not of yourself, but of the one who guards you. This is the power of a 3 a.m. prayer. Not superstition, not ritual, but encounter, surrender, alignment, awakening. And now, as this final part closes, let these words rest over your spirit like a blessing. May your nights be covered. May your days be guided. May your home be protected. May your mind be strengthened. May your spirit be awakened. May your purpose be fulfilled. And may the presence of God meet you, not just at 3 a.m., but in every hour that follows. Amen.